In 2012, an Icelandic TV station accidentally aired an episode of the Teletubbies with subtitles from HBO's The Sopranos, leaving children watching cheerful characters while captions referenced murder, dead dogs, drugs, and impotence. The bizarre mix-up was spotted by an adult viewer who photographed the screen before the broadcast ended. Just months later, the channel shut down completely and its archives were destroyed, meaning the original footage is believed to have disappeared forever. Today, only a few blurry photos remain as evidence that the surreal broadcast ever happened. Just 7 days after being released from prison, Aaron Tucker had less than $2 to his name and was on his way to a life-changing job interview when he watched a car flip over and begin filling with smoke. Knowing the bus would leave without him and he'd miss the interview, he ran off anyway, pulled the badly injured 61-year-old driver from the wreck moments before it caught fire, and used his own dress shirt to stop the man's bleeding. Tucker missed the interview but saved the stranger's life, and after his story went viral, donations topped $50,000 within days, and employers lined up to offer him a second chance. When Steven Tyler was 27 years old, he started a relationship with a 14-year-old girl. He took her on the road with her, got her addicted to drugs, got her pregnant, and forced her to have an abortion when she was only 16. Anton syndrome is a rare psychological condition that can affect people who suddenly go blind. They are unaware of their blindness and outright deny it, since their brain generates false visual images, causing them to believe that they can still see. At some point during the Middle Ages, it was believed that sperm produced by the left testicle resulted in having girls. To ensure having a son, men would have it removed. This is an example of a pillory, which was used as a form of capital punishment in 19th century China. The man in the photo can't reach his face with his hands, so he must rely on pedestrians to feed him and give him water like a dog. The device also made it incredibly hard to sleep comfortably and essentially tortured the prisoner until they eventually died from starvation. Tiny Tim became an overnight sensation in the late 1960s with his falsetto rendition of Tiptoe Through the Tulips, but his fame faded almost as quickly as it arrived. Financial problems forced him to continue performing despite suffering from severe heart disease. In September of 1996, he suffered a heart attack after a concert but ignored doctors' warnings to stop performing. Just 2 months later, he collapsed on stage during another performance, suffered another massive heart attack, and died the following day. Here's some footage of one of nature's most gruesome mating rituals. Male honeybees, known as drones, die immediately after mating when their reproductive organ is ripped from their body, tearing open their abdomen and killing them within seconds. During her only mating flight, a queen typically mates with 10 to 20 drones, though some mate with 40 or more, storing enough sperm to fertilize eggs for the rest of her life. In 1859, English settler Thomas Austin released just 24 European rabbits into the Australian wilderness to hunt them for sport. But with few natural predators and ideal conditions, the population exploded into billions within decades, devastating native ecosystems, stripping vegetation, causing massive soil erosion, and becoming one of the worst invasive species disasters in history. Here's some amazing footage of one of the rarest birds on Earth coming face to face with another of its own kind. This is the kagu, a bird found only on the island of New Caledonia, where fewer than 2,000 of them are believed to remain in the wild. Unlike most birds, kagus can barely fly, instead relying on dramatic crest displays and synchronized dances like this to communicate, defend territory, and strengthen pair bonds. Conservation efforts have helped bring the species back from the brink of extinction, making sightings like this possible once again. Here's a clip of what's believed to be the largest gathering of orcas ever filmed. The incredible scene was captured by Tony Meyer off the coast of northern Norway, where hundreds of killer whales converge to feed on massive schools of herring. Rather than hunting alone, the orcas work together to herd the fish into massive bait balls before taking turns feeding, creating one of the most spectacular predator gatherings ever recorded. Despite being apex predators capable of taking down great white sharks and even other whales, there are no confirmed cases of wild orcas intentionally killing a human. The only fatal orca attacks on humans have happened in captivity. Jerry, better known online as Gazelle Beauty, was born with megalocornea, an extremely rare genetic disorder that causes the corneas to grow far larger than usual. The condition gave Jerry unusually large eyes from birth, leading many childhood photos to go viral because of their unsettling appearance. While often mistaken for a cosmetic trait, megalocornea is a lifelong medical condition that can be associated with vision problems, light sensitivity, and an increased risk of serious eye complications later on in life. The disorder is so rare that very few doctors will ever encounter a patient with it during their entire careers. In 2024, 26-year-old American YouTuber Elliot Eastman repeatedly told his audience he feared armed men would come for him while living in a conflict-prone region of the Philippines. After marrying a local woman and openly documenting his life, income, and whereabouts online, Eastman randomly ended one of his live streams without saying goodbye. Roughly 2 hours later, armed men reportedly arrived at his home, shot him, and abducted him by boat. Despite extensive searches, his body was never recovered, leaving his ultimate fate officially unsolved but widely presumed fatal. Lotus shoes like this pair from the 18th century were used to bind the feet of young Chinese women and prevent them from growing normally. The painful practice was started over 1,000 years ago as it was considered a mark of feminine beauty to have small feet. Here's a before and after of a 2,000-year-old ancient Roman silver dagger following 9 months of careful restoration. This is an early example of a successful cranioplasty found on a 1,600-year-old Peruvian skull. As evidenced by the well-healed skull bone, the patient survived. This crab-inspired samurai helmet was made and signed by Japan's most famous metalsmith in 1525. This miniature religious relic from the 1500s is carved from a single piece of boxwood. The carvings are so impressively tiny that researchers had to use a microscope to detect some of their joints. Connor Murphy rose to fame as one of YouTube's biggest fitness influencers, amassing millions of followers through bodybuilding videos, pranks, and physique transformations. However, beginning around 2020, his content became increasingly erratic, featuring bizarre spiritual claims, extreme fasting experiments, psychedelic usage, and multiple psychiatric hospitalizations that alarmed many longtime fans. On July 7, 2026, police in Thailand responded to reports that the 32-year-old American was acting strangely outside the luxury lakeside home he'd been renting with his girlfriend. Witnesses said he was shouting, rolling on the ground, attempting to get into passing vehicles, and making prayer-like gestures before fleeing from responding officers by running into a nearby lake. He continued swimming until he became exhausted and soon disappeared beneath the surface. Rescue divers recovered his body 30 minutes later from roughly 66 feet offshore. Investigators reported no signs of foul play, but found 2 unused syringes and several unidentified pills among his belongings, while his rental home had reportedly been left splattered with paint and extensively damaged in the hours before his death. An autopsy and toxicology tests are now underway to determine exactly what led to the tragic outburst and drowning.